friends, welcome to my sewing room. My name's Beth, and if you're new, welcome. Today I'm leaving on a little camping trip, and I packed a bag of applique, and I'm going to share with you what I'm working on. Let's get started. The last time that we were sewing together, I made a quilt block called Rosy Quartet, and I made quite a few, but between the last video and today, I have put the quilt top together, and I also added some plain borders. This green color, this minty green fabric, is a cotton sheet, and so I am pressing it before I cut those long borders, and thankfully I had just enough fabric. I have a little bit left over, and I'll be able to surround my quilt blocks with a border, and I'm also going to add some applique today. I was hoping for an 8-inch wide border for my applique, but I didn't have quite enough fabric, so I went down to 7 inches, and I'll be cutting 4 strips that are 7 inches wide, and thankfully they are just long enough to get around my quilt. After cutting my strips, I pinned each strip one at a time along the side of my quilt, and then I attached these borders, just pinning and sewing one at a time. Once all of my borders were attached, I did a little dreaming about how I might cut some applique for my quilt top here. And here are just some shapes that I cut out of paper and laid on my quilt top to see what I might like. I took a scratch piece of paper for the stems here and just cut out a curvy line. Using that same piece of paper, I just cut some leaves, and then I thought the flower looked nice with the triangle. It kind of goes along with those red triangles in my quilt top, so I'm going to cut some triangle shapes for the flowers. I really like this way of doing some applique that is sort of original. I just cut shapes out of paper and I lay it on my quilt top and see if I like it. And in this case, a lot of times it's a colorful fabric that you're using for applique, but today with this only 3 colors in this quilt, I am going to use white fabric for my applique. I have a good idea now of what I want to do, so I'm going to cut the fabric for my stems, and what I need to do is cut on the bias. So I fold sort of a triangle out of my piece of fabric here, and I'm going to put the fold of that triangle on my cutting mat along one side, and then I'll take my ruler and I'll cut some straight lines. And I took my little cut stem to see how wide it was, and it measures 1/2 inch, so I'll be cutting my strips 1.5 inches because they'll be folded twice, and that way they'll be pretty close to this shape that I cut out of paper. I'm going to take those bias strips that I cut and I'll fold them 2 times towards the center. So this strip will be folded sort of in thirds. I would like to keep the raw edge on the inside though, so I don't want that raw edge to be all the way to that opposite fold. And then I'm going to stitch with a basting, a very large stitch on my machine. I'm going to add a basting stitch right through the center to keep this together, and after it's been appliqued to my quilt, I can easily take out those basting stitches. Bias strips are very easy to curve. When you cut on the straight of the grain, they do not curve very well, but when you do on the bias, they curve real nicely. So I took the strips to my pressing mat here, and I have the paper vine right next to my fabric, so I can kind of eyeball the shape, and these are not going to be all exactly alike. And I will be pressing my strip here into that curved shape. I took my curved vine here and I just pinned it to my quilt top so it's already in place so that I can begin the task of hand applique. I need 12 of these vines to take on my trip. I want everything sort of ready to go so that when I get to my camping spot, I will be ready and I can just sit and do my peaceful sewing. So I pressed 12 curvy vines and I attached them all to my quilt top. Now that my vines are ready to go, I need 3 more shapes and I'm going to cut all 3 from this cardboard and I will be pressing my applique pieces using the cardboard and some starch. Here's the first leaf that I'll be cutting, and I just need to cut my white fabric larger than that cardboard piece. And after I have it cut out, I'll take it to my pressing mat, add some starch, and press. So I did start with using just the water, but I decided in the end I would be happier using starch. I decided to switch gears and add the starch to my pieces. I did pull out a piece of fabric to protect the wool pad that I have on my ironing board, and here my starch is not working too well, so I took it over to the sink and cleaned out that sprayer and it worked much better. So I'm going to just spray that whole piece of white fabric and lay the cardboard on top and press down the edges so that they are ready for the applique, and then I will also press the front. The corner edges are not all the way in, and that's okay, because when I get to the corner when I'm stitching, I will just tuck that excess fabric in. Actually, I'll probably be trimming a little bit of it away as I get to it when I am doing my applique. When all of my pieces were ready to go, I was able to sit down and begin appliquing my vine, and after I did my vine, I added the flower, the leaves, and that little half circle there on the top. My goal is to get all of my flowers appliqued on this week. It's very peaceful work and I have all the supplies I need. I'm ready to go. I love going on a trip with a handwork project ready to go, and I'll let you know how it goes this week. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you next time.